Hello again. Welcome back to Literally My Life, My Guide to Girlhood. I am a little hoarse. I'm getting over a bad cold, so if I sound kind of weird, just like let it be. Um, but I am also so excited to be recording our third episode. 3 weeks ago, 3 Sundays ago, I just had this idea to record a podcast, put my heart into it, put it out there. And so far, it's been doing really well. So thank you to everybody who's listening. But beyond just like listening and views and all that stuff, I want people to be like actually getting advice. So, and I want to be interacting with people. Like, I want people to be getting advice. I want to be helping people with any problems that they have. So, in order to do that, I want to be more interactive. I'm not sure whether I'm going to be starting an Instagram for the podcast. I kind of like don't want to do that. I would rather do a blog, but I'm not open to doing an Instagram. So stay tuned, okay? Because we might be able to be talking to each other sooner. Other than that, welcome back to this podcast, Literally My Life, My Guide to Girlhood. So, one of the reasons I started Literally My Life, My Guide to Girlhood was to give you guys kind of like the teenage perspective of things, give you kind of like my perspective on things of girlhood. We've covered therapy, we've covered female friendships, we have a lot of other things to cover, like we're just starting. But when it comes to one of the biggest things about being a teenager and just teenage angst in a way is your first. My sister told me once, my sister Diamond told me once, the reason being a teenager is so hard is because it's your first time experiencing all the hard things. And you don't have any experience and you don't know what to do because it's your first time. And I think that is so true. So, today we're going to be talking about your first. We're going to be talking about your first breakup, your first relationship, your first love, your first job, your first car. We're going to be talking about all of your first. And I'm going to be sharing a little bit about all of my experiences with my first. I haven't had my first everything. Like, I haven't had my first job yet. But I've had my first car. I've had my first kiss. I've had my first relationship. I've had my first breakup. So let's actually end up talking about that. So welcome back. This is exciting. Okay. Okay. So we're going to start off with our first, like, driving experiences and first cars and stuff like that. So the first time I ever drove, I was 15. I'm trying to remember like the first time I drove a car. I actually was 14. My mom asked me to pull my car into the garage and I hit the wall. I was so bad at driving, but my first time actually driving a car around a parking lot, I was 15. It started the summer I turned 15. My mom and I would just kind of like drive around parking lots, whether it was like my neighborhood, which is kind of like in a circle, or, just parking lots at the movie theater. And it was a very exciting experience. I actually really liked it. It was pretty fun. What I was like really shocked to know was that the car moves on its own and like, you don't have to do much. Like, you don't have to get out and push the car. So it was exciting. But beyond getting the first car, I think cars represent freedom to teenagers, which is why we get so excited about like, oh my gosh, when I turn 17, I'm going to get a car. And it's so exciting because you can, get up and get your car. So I'm in driver's ed right now. I still have not gotten my driver's license, which is hilarious because I'm almost 17. Not that, and I feel it's funny because I feel like when I was a kid, I used to watch this episode of Victorious where Tori couldn't be driven to school for some reason, and she was asking all her friends to drive her. And they were like, girl, you're 16 and you don't have a driver's license. And I used to judge her, and I'm now the same way. I'm 16 without a driver's license, which is actually hilarious. The reason I don't have a driver's license is because I was very, very busy my sophomore year. I took the class in school, the paper class. I passed my permit test with flying colors. I had a great time, really. So that was not the hard part. I know the Illinois, like I know the Illinois road, like the rules of the road. Okay, I know. Um, so the that's not the issue. The issue is I didn't have the time to go take my little permit check to the office where I would do my range, where I would do my traffic, for a very long time because I was busy. So I don't think I actually ended up taking them that until January of 2023. And I've been doing my hours ever since. I don't even think it was January. I think it was actually like June of 2023. And that's hilarious. And I ended up doing my thing, and I'm still taking my driver's hours. And I'm supposed to be getting my license this month. So stay tuned. But it's so fun to have that freedom to have like a friend with a car because your friend picks you up, you guys go have a good night, your friend drives you. Like it's so fun. And it's, a first because you're so used to parents driving you everywhere because you were like a little while ago, you were a little girl and your mom had to drive you everywhere. And now you're a big girl and you're putting on your big girl hat and your big girl pants and you are learning to drive. It always amazes me when I'm driving. It is such an experience. Like I'm driving, like me. I'm like I think it's so funny. Like I'm behind the wheel, because I may not, be the person to trust, but that's okay. And I'm behind the wheel, and I'm driving down these long roads and these busy traffic streets. Like I drive at Lane Tech. For the Chicago people who know, Lane Tech is near a very busy street. So when I get on that road, I'd be like, wow, girl boss. So, just having the first car is such a fun experience, to teenagers. So if your kid is like driving you crazy with leaving the house because they finally got a car, just let them do their thing because it is such an exciting moment. I have to just speak for myself. I can't speak for other people. Some people might hate driving. I kind of hate driving, but I also love the freedom of driving. If I had a chauffeur, that would be perfect, but I'm middle class, so that's not going to happen. But I just, driving is so fun. I'm so happy that I'm learning to drive. I'm so happy that I have friends that already have license. And, for my 16th birthday, I got a car, which was a total surprise, and it is totally amazing. And so now that I have a car that's kind of just collecting dust, my mom drives it sometimes. I need to, like, get out and drive it. And when I do, it's a great time. So, you'll catch me on the road. Honk if you see me, please. Okay, so the next thing we're going to be talking about are first, like, relationships. Oh, this is like, I've been waiting on this one. I'm ready to cook. I am ready to cook on this one. So, my first relationship, like, serious relationship, I was probably 15 or 14. I've had flings. I've had serious... I'm not going to say that. The guy that I'm referring to in this podcast is I'm not going to say his name for privacy reasons. Not that, like, I feel like anybody really knows him, because he's from literally a whole other state. He's literally from Atlanta. But, I'm going to call him... Oh, let me think of a good nickname. I'm going to call him Brownie, because he had a cute little olive complexion. I'm going to call him Brownie. He was a cutie. So Brownie and I met when I was 14. I thought he was totally cute, but it wasn't really like that at first. And plus, I was also seeing somebody else. I was seeing another guy who's, we're gonna call tall guy, because he was really tall. Not like super tall, because I've seen, he was 6'5", which is tall. But I also knew a guy who was 6'9", and we might have to call, no, we're not. So we're gonna call him tall guy. So I was seeing tall guy for a while, and I this guy and I did not get along. I was not very happy in the relationship. You know how they say happy life, happy wife. Definitely he did not believe in that. Um Tall guy and I were not working out. So I met Brownie when I was 14, and it wasn't like romantic at first. I did think he was super cute. He thought I was cute. It was a little flirtatious, but it wasn't like we're gonna date, you know? So the summer goes by. I don't really talk to tall guy that much. No, I do talk to tall guy. I don't really talk to Brownie that much. So the summer passes. I start high school. Me and tall guy, like, it just doesn't work out, and I don't figure that out until about after Halloween, and it was pretty heartbreaking. But I got through it, even though I had lost my mind uh, completely. But I got it back soon enough, so that's good. Um, Me and Brownie still aren't really talking at this much. I had made it a habit to kind of call him on holidays, like Christmas and his birthday, and we would talk then, and like on Thanksgiving that year we talked, whatever. Then that winter, I met a guy. We're gonna call him Ginger because he was a redhead. And I started dating Ginger. I really liked Ginger. He was a great rebound from tall guy. We had a great moment. Ginger broke up with me. We went out for like 4.5 weeks, and then he broke up with me. It was heartbreaking. It was another little thing. And at this point, I'm like, okay, I am so over this. I've had 2 failed relationships. And like that's like a big deal, but I was 14. And I was just like, you know what, I'm just done with the dating scene. I need to just work on myself. And then insert Brownie. Brownie comes around about 2 weeks. No, not even like 2 months later, actually. Brownie comes around about 2 months later. We start talking, and he had started, kind of posting this girl, and I was like, oh, is that your girlfriend? And he was like, no. And it wasn't. And I was like, okay. And it just made me realize how much I kind of liked him, and kind of was like, okay, well, then maybe you and I. And then we just had, like, it was like kind of like the same thought. We were like, okay, well, maybe then you and I should start doing the darn thing. Maybe you and I should talk and try to date. And we did. And for a while, it was amazing. So I'm not going to get into like the specifics of like why we broke up, and like, because I don't want to put my relationship out there. Like, I'm, kind of still a private person. But so it was great. We were on and off for like a very interesting 2 months. And that summer of 2022, uh, in July, like late July, we ended things for good. And I have actively like been recovering from that breakup. And this is what I'm going to talk about. So, let me touch on the first relationships. First relationships are so exciting. And I, have obviously been in relationships. I just said I was in 2 relationships before this guy. So, he was not my first relationship, but he was my first love. He was my introduction to love. I had never felt that chemistry, that excitement for anyone else. And it was like, I thought at the time it was perfect because he was exactly my type. He was beautiful. He was a perfect guy for me. We got along so well in the beginning. We had great chemistry. And I was very sure about him. There was not a lot of uncertainty. It was like, you know what? You like me, I like you. Like, let's just do the darn thing. It wasn't like, does he like me? Does he not like me? Does he love me? Like, I didn't have to guess with him. Like, he just liked me and I liked him and it was perfect. And it was my first time having that certainty. And I really liked him for that. I fell in love with him. Like, that sounded so stupid. But I did. I ended up actually falling in love with this guy. And it was a great relationship. I don't like how things ended, but I just have to learn to live with that. But it was a great relationship. And I think first relationships teach you a lot. They teach you a lot about love. They teach you a lot about who you are and who you love. Like it taught me dating him and falling in love with him taught me so much about who I like, the kind of guys I like, the kind of person I want to be with, like the personality aspect. Like I kind of figured out what I physically like in a guy, but I hadn't really figured out what I like in a like, in a personality, like what I like about his personality. And so this guy was funny. This guy was really funny. He was one of those people who come off as like kind of scary, like not scary but intimidating. You look at him, he's kind of intimidating. He looks like an intimidating person, like you'd be scared to kind of talk to him. But he was very gentle. He was a lot more gentle than you would think, and he was very kind and very considerate. And he had a very good heart under all of that. And I really loved that about him. I'm just like I'm so reminiscent. I'm like picturing him and I right now as I talk about it, but I have to talk about it even though it's painful because this is my job now. But first relationships are very like crucial. They kind of they're the first block into a block full until you meet the guy. You have to kiss many princes, many frogs. You have to kiss many frogs to get to the prince. And that first frog kind of sets he kind of sets the tone for the rest of the frogs. So I fell in love with this guy and it was great until it wasn't. And we ended up not together. So it's the middle of the summer and I just go through this terrible, terrible breakup. It was terrible. I don't want to get into specifics about it, but it was pretty bad. So I break up with this guy, and it was terrible. I was just so distraught because I was absolutely and utterly in love with this guy. I was totally in love with this guy. So I'm like trying to figure out, well, where do I go from here? What do I do from here? Like, where do I go from here? So now we're going to touch on your first breakup, from this first love relationship. I was so clueless. It wasn't that he was the center of my life. Like, it wasn't like an unhealthy kind of like codependent moment because I had worked really hard to make sure that this relationship was not codependent, which is another reason why I had missed it so much. I was like, it was so healthy in the beginning. Like, wow, we just broke up. We did not break up on good terms. We did not break up on it was not a healthy breakup, which sucked because that was my best friend. He's my best friend. He was my person. I loved him. I loved talking to him. It was hurtful. So I was clueless. I was just dumbfounded. I didn't know what to do. And I had to, at that point, I was responsible for healing myself, getting over that breakup, getting over him, letting that love go, and building up my life again. And I have done such a great job. Like, I'm not trying to brag, but I've done such a good job. Like, I did such a good job at moving on with my life and creating a life that I love and working really hard for things that I want and working hard towards my goal. And let's just talk about this. Let's talk about this. I'm so excited to talk about it. So, let's talk about how differently our lives would have been if that first love, if that young love was the one. Because in a way, I'm grateful that we broke up. In a way, I'm grateful it's over. Even though it was great, a great relationship, because I would not have turned out to be such an independent, happy person. I'm very independent. Like the girl that I am now, this girl, she gets up, she goes to Whitney Young, very academically rigorous school, you know. She fought her ass off to get into Whitney Young, even though, like, I was in the relationship when I fought to get into Whitney Young. But after we broke up, I had fought, no, after we had broken up, I started a new school. I met new people. Did I meet a guy that I had a meaningful moment with that compared to that relationship? No, I didn't. I still actually haven't. I've had flings, I've had moments, but I haven't been in love again. I haven't had a meaningful connection with a guy again. And that's okay. You know, I'm not rushing. I'm not, scared that I'm never going to meet a guy again and have a meaningful connection with him because I know I will. I know I will. I'm 16. I have so much life ahead of me. That's not something I'm worried about. But the girl that I am now, she takes the train, which I never used to do. And she's ambitious and she runs around downtown Chicago. She does, you know what I mean? Like she goes, like, she finds internships. She's applying to scholarships. She gets straight A's. Like, she works really hard and she's completely independent. Like, after I go even if I'm going to a freaking party, you know what I mean? Like, even if I go to a freaking party and I have a great night, I'm dancing with my girls. I get ready with my girls before that party. I dance with my girls at that party. And then you know what I do? I come home at night and I go to bed alone. And I watch my friends and I go to sleep. I say a prayer and I go to bed. Because I don't need a man. Do I wish I had companionship at times? Yeah, like sometimes it would be nice to hug a really tall guy that I really like. Like, have the butterflies moment. Like, it's okay to do that and miss that. But I'm really independent and I'm single and I love this life because I haven't had that. Okay. That relationship laid a foundation of what I want in my next relationship, which is a successful, meaningful relationship where our souls connect, where we're intertwined, like where I understand you and you understand me. And because I haven't found a guy where I really connect with like that, I haven't been in a meaningful relationship since July of 2022. And because of that, I've had so much time. Because of that, I've had so much time to explore myself and learn much more about myself, like so much more about myself. I've learned what I don't like in a guy. I've learned about what I do like in a guy. I've learned about, like beyond physical traits, like what do I want in a guy? Do I want him to be, well off? Do I want him to live in the same state as I do? Do I want to like when I mean that, like, do I want to wait until college to really look for another guy? Do you know what I mean? Like, do I want to date a guy that I know, that I grew up with? Do I want to be like, because I'm thinking long term in the end. So I've had a lot of time to think about that kind of thing. And it has been really great and really successful. I think that your first relationship, it's painful. It hurts. It hurt. My first breakup hurt. And I'm not exaggerating. Like, I cried. Like, I cried. I cried on the train. I cried in the shower. And was hurt for a very, 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 very long time. And it still hurts me to this day. That hurt's never going away. But it's kind of like grief. Like, you never stop grieving, you just learn to grow around your grief. And so I'm not ever going to stop. Like, that's always going to hurt. But I've just learned to grow around the hurt. I'm glad we did not end up together because I feel like I would not have been as ambitious or have tried to meet as many people or have been as independent, and I feel like my goals and like life kind of would have still centered around him because he's going to, I would have probably tried to go to the same college as him and, centered my life around him and his career because he does have a very lucrative career as a football player. He's, he's a D1 athlete, which was a red flag, but you know what I mean? So I'm glad I did not do that because that would have been, me following a guy, and you never do that, even if you like the show Felicity. You just don't do that. But I would have been stupid at the end of the day, no matter how much I would like to tell myself, oh, I would have still gone to college in New York, even though he's going to college in California. Like, I probably would have been like, no, I'm going to college in California. And I'm going to become a cheerleader. So even though I do cheer anyway, and I ended up cheering as an independent woman, but I would have become a cheerleader in college so that I could cheer for his football games, and I would have gone to meetings with him, and I would have been his manager at one point. Like, I would have done stupid stuff because that's what you do when you're in love. But that's why I'm just so grateful I did not end up with the first guy I fell in love with, because I would have probably not learned to not be stupid and not let your life center around him, especially when you date an athlete who has a very, very lucrative career. So, in the end, even though breakups hurt, that first breakup hurts, it's going to hurt, especially when you're a teenager. You know what I mean? And you have never experienced a bad breakup before. You've never experienced that rejection, that hurt, that just all the bad things. You've never experienced it before. It's going to hurt because you don't have any experience. How am I going to get over this? Because you've never gotten over it before. But you're not alone, and it's not the end of the world. It feels like the end of the world, but it's not the end of the world. And that boy is not your soulmate. I had to spend a long time learning it. Like, your first love doesn't, just because he's your first love, it doesn't necessarily mean he's your soulmate and you were destined to marry him and you just broke up with your husband. That's not the truth. That's just what you're telling yourself. Thoughts are just that. Thoughts. Okay? So, knowing that I didn't lose the love of my life and my soulmate and all that, because that's what I had convinced myself he was, and he was not. He was just my first love. But that does not mean that he was going to be my big, great love. Now, I haven't experienced my big, great love yet, and I'm open to experiencing it. I'm excited for when it does come. I have no idea who the guy is, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that uncertainty, because to be happy in a relationship, you have to be happy with yourself. And I've spent the last 2 years being learning to be happy with myself, and now I am really happy and confident with the person I am. Like, you cannot tell me something about myself, because I truly do deeply love myself. And because I have such a good self-esteem, great self-confidence, great self-love, because I'm happy within, I know I won't be in a bad situation anymore where I can let somebody affect my self-esteem. You know what I mean? I'm going to be in a good situation. I know in my next relationship, my next meaningful relationship, that I'm going to be well off within myself, and I won't let my boundaries be crossed. They may not be an issue for other people, but that was an issue for me in my previous relationship. In my previous relationships, even before Brownie. So, Brownie and I are not together, obviously. Brownie and I have not talked since probably 2022, like that Christmas. And we are just over. And that's okay. I'm grateful it happened. So this is also kind of like to inspire people and let people know that it's okay. Like, first loves are not the biggest deal. They're not the end of the world, but they feel like it. And that's because you've never experienced, it's your first, you've never experienced it before. Um, so, moral of the story is that your first jobs, your first time losing your job, your first car, your first love, your first time losing that first love, it's gonna be a big deal because it's your first and you have no experience on how to deal with it and how to handle it. And this time is such a crucial time. Like, you have to learn you're going to deal with it, how you're going to manage the pain. And I did that by remaining single and waiting until I met a guy that I deeply connected with to have a meaningful relationship with. You know what I mean? Not just jumping in a relationship with the next guy that I like, you know? And I've spent the last 2 years getting to know myself, and really, I've become very happy with myself and very happy with my life, to the point where I don't even care about finding that next meaningful relationship. I mean, Valentine's Day is coming up. Valentine's Day is around the corner. And all of my friends, I usually hang out with one of my friends for the event, but all my friends have Valentines. And I don't have a Valentine this year. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go to dinner with my mom and my dad, the people that make me the happiest. My mom's my best friend. I spend so much time with my mom. And I'm going to go to dinner with my mom and my dad, and we're going to have a great time. You know what I mean? And I'm going to enjoy the holiday because the holiday is about love, and I'm surrounded by love. People do love me, even if it's not romantic love. I am surrounded by so much platonic love and so much self love that I feel fulfilled. And I know that whatever comes my way, I'm ready for it. So I hope that you find that peace, that you go on your journey. My journey, I can do a whole other episode about my self-love journey. But you go on that journey, you heal, you find yourself, you do the work. And healing is a linear process, and it's ongoing. You don't just heal and then, you know what I mean? You're always going to be healing from something because life has its ups and downs. I hope that you go through a beautiful healing journey and you become so powerful from within that what's going on externally, what's going on in the world, does not affect you. And I hope you find that inner peace. Thank you guys for listening. I'm tired of hearing myself talk now. I'm sure you're tired of hearing me talk. So that is just my experience on the first loves, the first relationships, the first jobs, the first car, and all the first that the teenagers have. I hope this is a better perspective for you. I hope I was able to give you some advice, some clarity. And that is just my opinion. Once again, it's just an opinion. So if you feel a certain way about something I said, then feel that because it's just an opinion. Thank you guys for listening. I will see you guys next time on Literally My Life, My Guide to Girlhood.